Welcome to Roguecast, the official podcast of Rogues Gallery. We'll talk comics for the week, as well as whatever news is on our pop cultural radar. I'm Randy.
I'm Nick.
This is Dave.
And now, on with the show.
All right, it's time for your weekly Marvel Snap update.
Randy, that's the sound of people turning off the podcast.
Oh no, come back. I was just kidding.
We'll sneak in the Snap update later.
Probably.
Probably. We're still playing it like maniacs, though, and y'all should get on board.
There's a new game starting tomorrow, I believe.
Oh, like the secondary mode?
I think it's called Sanctum Sanctorum.
Yes, it's a super fun mode. I'm looking forward to it coming back.
I don't know if I know this one.
I didn't.
It's good. It's a good one.
You who have been playing for many moons.
I never quit, unlike you quitters.
Randy is the lore master, the senpai.
Well, I'm in it now. I've spent money, and but I listen to all the haters online.
Yeah, don't listen to the haters.
I don't listen to them. I hear them and I laugh at them.
So we got we had our free RPG day on Saturday.
Oh yeah,
very successful one.
Very successful. Our next big event is July 12th, All Ages Awesomeness. That is coming up in a couple of weeks.
Yep.
Yeah.
We'll have some artists here to do free sketches for kids and possibly some adults.
Yeah.
But don't bogart the sketch artists. Let the kids have their sketches.
Right. That's where the main thing.
Don't come in and be like, hey, could you draw me a life-size Shogun warrior?
Right.
That's not cool.
Randy, people don't know who Shogun warriors are.
Don't come in and say, draw me a kaiju.
Yes.
They can draw you a kaiju's ear. That's it.
When in doubt, the artist will draw you the ear of the character you're speaking of.
Yes, yeah. It's quick, easy.
Could you draw me Legolas taking down an Oliphant with the entire army arrayed behind them?
Here's his ear.
Here's his ear.
But you can just imagine the rest of that.
Right. There's like some motion lines around the ear, and they're like, yeah, it's because he's like sliding down its trunk after he killed it.
Yeah. Taking down the world.
Use your imagination.
The reading challenge continues. You still have a couple months to get into that. That ends in middle August.
That also functions as a Spock piece of art too. It's really quite a versatile system.
It is. Standard for all.
Sorry, yeah.
Malekith.
I had to return there. Reading challenge still going strong. Yeah, and this has been our biggest year yet.
It has. Yep. I guess it's worth mentioning that T-Fest is coming up in August. That is Central Texas' new tabletop RPG and board game convention. We will be exhibiting there.
Yep.
And we'll see how that goes.
When is that happening?
August 8th through 10th.
Okay.
All right, games. Notable this week, we got a new D&D book, Dragon Delves.
Yep. Yeah. I've been browsing through this, and it's pretty cool. It's a collection of 10 dragon-themed adventures.
For levels 1 through 12.
Yep.
10 distinct dungeons.
Yep. And each chapter begins by whatever the dragon is in it. It kind of gives you the D&D history of it. So it shows art from all the different eras, and kind of talks about how the concept is, changed over the years. And then there's a cool adventure for you to run with them. Yep. You can, in fact, run them as a collection of adventures if you want to, but they're probably best used, I would imagine, or most easily used as standalones. I noticed that there's a different kind of vibe and tone to each one of them, from like spooky ones to this one's got kind of a pulp ancient Egypt sort of vibe, and at least one that's a little bit lighthearted, and had cool kind of cartoony art in the style of it.
And in that vein, I think the biggest draw for me is that each adventure is done in a different art style. I just think it's kind of cool to see this kind of wide array of styles.
It is a cool looking book.
It is.
The one you were talking about, the more lighthearted, is drawn in sort of a Hansel and Gretel style.
Yeah. It reminds me of artists that we like Dan Hipp and stuff like that.
That's great. This looks like a really cool book. I think people should check it out.
And also, I know that Dungeons and Dragons people, the dragon is the most iconic monster of the thing. It's right there in the title. Yeah. So more big dragon stuff is always welcome.
Which is more important, dungeons or dragons?
I'm going to say probably the dungeon part.
Yeah, I kind of have to agree.
If you just had the dragons just are walking around in the city all day, it'd be a little bit weak. But the part of their premise here is that especially I think for beginning adventurers and stuff like that, there's nothing cooler than facing off a dragon as a boss.
Yeah.
And so this is meant to like provide that. But there are also good dragons in this mix.
Yep.
So you're going to get some variety of styles. I imagine at least in some of them you're essentially working for the dragon or something like that. But
imagine.
I think that I think they're probably always going to find fun ways for you to encounter villainous dragons to fight. Probably even if you're working for a good dragon, and kill the bad ones.
We also have Marvel Champions has 2 new packs.
Oh, I missed that.
Winter
Which
Soldier
ones?
and Falcon.
Yep.
Oh, that's a good set.
And their enemies that come with them are both members of Thunderbolts. So they're doing a Thunderbolts theme as on the villains. We got a game called Happy Mochi, which
Yes.
we have a demo of. And
It's like a little card game, right?
I know me and Serena and Jeanette all know how to demo it. So if anyone wants to learn it, you can come over
It's
here.
like a quick, 10-minute thing.
It's a little
right?
quick game. It's basically sort of Uno-esque in some ways.
Right.
You have series of cards 1 through 10. You put down a sort of percentile number, so 1s and 10s, so like 28 or 82 or whatever, and then you have to play from your hand. You're not allowed to move your hand around. You have to play a pair that is higher than that number, or depending on where the little card is, flipped lower than. And there's a couple of little quirks to it, but that's basically all there is. And you try to be the first one out of your cards.
Okay.
Really fun, really quick play game.
I was listening to you teach it to Jeanette the other day, and maybe actually Serena too, and it sounded really fun. And
Yep.
I will learn this soon.
If I remember, it's $10, right?
I know it is a real quick.
I don't remember off the top of my
quick to learn
head.
one.
It's like a cheap game.
But like that and Flip 7 are like 2 games everybody should just go ahead and get because
Yeah.
they're really good. You can play with gamers and non-gamers alike. Really good games.
Kid friendly.
For sure. Yep.
Yeah.
In fact, I played it with some kids. It was good.
There we go.
More Prepared is the new thing from Kobold Press, which is part of Tales of the Valiant, not D&D.
Oh, interesting. Yeah,
So
one of the sort of rivals.
They're right, yeah. So it is a series of like quick adventures you can run if you like had your parties, your gaming group is coming over. You haven't prepped anything. You can use one of these adventures.
Okay.
And there's some good ones in there.
Kobold Press, for those that don't know, is like one of our biggest third-party representatives. And one of the things that they do is lots of like cool books that are like, here's a book on designing dungeons, here's a book on running, more interesting monsters. Here's some a book of new magic ideas. Like they put out a lot of great supplements for D&D, and now what was the one?
Tales of the Valiant is their
yeah.
system, yeah.
Yeah.
We've got DC Forever, a new DC trading card trading card game, deck building game. Not tied into DC Comics Deck Builder.
No, this is through
This is
WizKids.
WizKids. And I believe has a notable designer. I think the designer's name was on there. I didn't recognize it, but let's see but you're doing heroes and villains head to head. It's a quicker play game. You recruit characters, you battle in locations, and it is designed by Damon Stone, who did a lot of stuff. And Android Netrunner is probably the biggest thing.
Okay.
He's the line designer on the Android Netrunner, some Call of Cthulhu card game. He's done a lot of card game stuff.
Okay, so yeah, those are some pretty notable ones in that. In that, that's good company to be in. Yep. I'd like to try this out. Of course, we like the DC deck building game a lot.
Yep.
And that is a very quick to pick up game. So I'm curious. This is a different kind of quick to pick up, and the recruiting mechanic was a thing in Marvel Legendary, their deck building game. Again, I'm sure this is a very different take on it, but I'm curious to see how that works.
Yeah. And then we've got Hedge Mage from the guys who do Sagrada and some other games.
Yeah.
This is you are collecting gnomes from your rival's Hedge Mage while building your own to protect yours. So you build a Hedge Mage. Gnomes.
Okay.
You build a Hedge Mage of polyominoes, which is the Tetris word, essentially, to prevent your rival from stealing your gnomes, and simultaneously you navigate your other neighbor's maze to nab their gnomes.
That actually sounds ridiculous and fun.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of fun. Really nice looking game.
Building a keep-out maze sounds fun.
Yep.
It does.
You'll use your movement points to maneuver your mages through your rival's mage.
Okay.
In order to awaken each gnome according to specific enchantment cards. That's fun. Let's talk comics for the week.
Okay.
I think the book that is probably all of our picks this week is the New History of the DC Universe, #1.
Yeah.
By Mark Waid, Todd Nauck, Jerry Ordway. There will be different artists as they do more of these.
Yep.
It's a 4-issue series.
Yep.
It's essentially a lore book that charts all of DC's history, kind of the current lore. But what was fascinating to me was to see, the original, the first time they did a history of the DC Universe thing for the public that wasn't just like behind the scenes notes, like a showrunner Bible kind of thing, was in like 1987. George Perez did the original with, I think, Len Wein writing the text, and it was really formative for me. I loved reading it because I could like find out about characters I knew just like a little about, like Sergeant Rock or the New Gods or the Legion of Superheroes and like freaking Space Cabbie and weird obscure characters. And what I was surprised to see is like some of the things, because this is DC, although they've done some reboots, some of that stuff has stuck around, and it's kind of cool to see what has. But I also liked seeing new things incorporated in here.
This one focuses on sort of the early days, so it's the beginning of Heaven, Monitor, Anti-Monitor, Spectre, the Guardians, and then gets into sort of fantasy era stuff. And the creation of Shazam.
The Revolution. Old West is big, you know. And, like, everybody knows Jonah Hex, but do you know El Diablo? Do you know Powwow Smith?
Batlash.
Nighthawk and Cinnamon.
The Wyoming Kid. I did not know the Wyoming Kid.
Yep, some of these are... And some of these I'm like, every once in a while I'll be like, is that something new that was created? Or... And the kind of neat thing that they show their work in the back.
Yeah.
There are some footnotes which are actually quite interesting, several pages of them in the back. And they're like, you know, the origin of this character is revealed in blank. And, you know, these are books that they could be books from the 50s or 60s. They could be books from the 2010s. But they tell you wherever it happened. And there's also, like, little glimpses of the art from the original comics in it. But basically, it's a lore book. It's more like text with illustration. So it's not like a comic with a story.
It's not boring.
No.
And we should mention, I think it's actually a neat framing device.
Yes. Yeah. Barry Allen, who is apparently retired, he talks about how he saw more of the multiverse, past, present, and future than anyone ever lived. And I'm like, yeah, he did a lot of time travel, multiverse travel, that kind of thing. It makes sense for him to become sort of an unofficial historian.
Oh. Yeah. He basically decides that it's his responsibility to document the universe as he knows it. And it's kind of Todd Knock did a neat drawing of him basically at his computer working on this.
Yep.
And there's just all these Easter eggs in there, from Green Arrow's bow to the Gingold formula for elongated man. I see the mask of Wild Dog up there, if I'm not mistaken.
It is.
Sandman's helmet as well.
There's a Mad Hatter hat.
The Starman's Star Rod, is that what you call it?
Cosmic Rod.
Cosmic Rod.
No, is it?
No, it is. It's Cosmic Rod.
Yeah, it's Cosmic Rod.
Because that's what Courtney uses.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Or is that Blue Devil's trident? I just realized. I think
it's Blue Devil's trident. Yeah.
No, the Starman's thing is probably in there too.
I will say this. I don't know if we mentioned this is actually written by Mark Waid, who does these history books quite well. He did one phenomenally for Marvel. He did the history of the
the history of the Marvel Universe.
Yeah. Mark Waid knows how to do these.
We talked that up when that was coming out. I know that you can look up lore on Wikipedia and stuff like this, but this is a thing designed to be a big overview without, Wikipedia can actually get too detailed.
Yeah.
Or any wiki that you might go to.
Right. And have conflicting information.
Yes.
Right.
Thing, yeah.
And so this is
this is the definitive.
It's new art. It's meant to kind of find a way to make all these stories work nicely together.
It's a fun challenge, and Wade's definitely up to it.
Yes. Yeah, and you can find out about both eras you know about and the gaps in your DC lore knowledge. It's a real fun read, and we've had fun browsing through it and talking about stuff that was new and little tweaks that we liked, occasionally tweaks we didn't.
Yeah, but I think we all really enjoyed this one.
For
also
sure.
A beautiful cover by Chris Samney.
Yeah. There's a lot of good covers this week on it. It's got a few variants.
It does, but the main one.
Yeah, the main one is top notch.
Yep. Couple books I think none of us have a particular fandom for, but I know there are fans. VR Troopers #1, a spin-off from
Power Rangers.
Power Rangers
Prime, I think.
Yes, yep.
Basically, the new Power Rangers, which is their version of Absolute or Ultimate Power Rangers.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that seems to have found an audience. And this is
another sort of 90s TV show, kids TV show, VR Troopers.
Yep.
The art on this, they've got some people who are doing sort of Dan Moore riffs now, and it's really nice art.
You could find a worse artist to be influenced by.
But it's kind of fun if you're a fan of those concepts. And then Megaman Timelines, the first of 5 one-shots.
Yep.
That will show the various Mega Man from different games.
Yeah, I know that they've had sort of different continuities, sort of, and this I think each one kind of gets a spotlight.
Yep. This is the just regular Mega Man. Chris Condon of That Texas Blood and
Ultimate Wolverine
has a new indie book from Image called News from the Fallout. It's got sort of this interesting sort of black and white.
It's a little Sin City, but almost like told in silhouettes.
But it's almost like animation in the look of it. Yeah,
that's true. That's a good animation is a good way to put it. But it's like a nuclear test in the 60s.
The artist's name is Jeffrey Allen Love,
and something bad happens.
And it kind of does it creates some monsters.
Right. It's like a horror type thing seen from the perspective of the embedded army troops who are like too close to the explosion, which is I'm sure based at least has its roots in some real testing stuff that was done. I don't know. Have y'all ever seen this footage of these people who were like not at ground zero, but pretty close to a nuclear site? And as the mushroom cloud is blossoming in the desert, there's these troops marching towards it, and I'm like, oh my god! And that's like real footage. That was a real thing that happened.
Yeah.
They were like testing fallout effects and stuff. Sure. So I think he was like, let's take at least the germ of that and like let's turn it into a monster story.
Yeah.
That's a fun idea.
Lazarus, the book by Greg Rucka and Michael Lark, that is sort of the dystopian future where the rich have basically taken over and the poor or everyone else is just considered waste by them.
Right. It's nothing, like a modern feudalism.
Nothing that would ever happen, of course.
No. If you probably we would catch it if like ultra rich people were taking over the government.
I think so. I think people would notice.
Or doing anything like how would they control us? Take away our Medicare
or something like that. Yeah.
Tax breaks for the rich, but not the poor.
Ridiculous.
Right.
Anyway, if you can get past the unreality of it. No, Greg Rucka has always written really deeply political comics, and
generally had his hand on the pulse.
And this is the start of the final arc of this book that has been missing in action for a while.
Yep. The core of it was that there's 13 or something like that. Ultra rich families basically are the kings and queens of this future
16
dystopian
families.
Oh, 16. Okay.
There are 11 left. There were 16
all have these
like a Lazarus
super
unit
bodyguards.
Yeah. Right. They're like bodyguard assassin types, and one of them. And there's a very Game of Thrones vibe of interconnecting loyalties between these places and rivalries and backstabbing. But she basically turns against her family, but it's kind of complicated because she's also very desperate for their approval because I think she's at least initially perceived she might be like one of the bastard children sort of of one of the heads of the household and may actually essentially have some power if she were to claim it, and she wants it's like the dad in the Lannisters. They want his approval, but he's a bastard.
Yep. That's 100% accurate.
And anyway, that has returned. It's a series we've recommended over the years. I haven't had a chance to read it yet, but it's definitely on my to-do list.
Giant Size Age of Apocalypse. This is the third of the Giant Size specials that are having Kamala Khan bouncing through X-Men's timeline. This takes
their big events
with a version of Legion. Right?
Yeah, with a version of Legion.
I read this because I've never read Age of Apocalypse, and I was talking about it with Nick the other day, and I was like, "Oh, it'd be kind of interesting to just get a little bit of a." I decided to get a glimpse of it by reading this, and I kind of enjoyed it. Basically, it's her in this one. Legion, although he's been fighting against her, is in kind of this state where he's like, well, I guess we have to work together on this. And he's being sort of duplicitous, but it does essentially they arrive in the Age of Apocalypse future, which was big mid-90s crossover.
Yes.
Yeah,
big.
I remember did it have artists like not Umberto Ramos, or was it? It was one of those people who drew big people.
He may have been on there.
It might have been among other artists.
Yeah, there was a lot of
different people. But yeah, I kind of liked it, and this one is since they're going to do a new Age of Apocalypse sort of storyline, this is clearly cueing that part of it up.
In fact, it also teases.
Right, there's a backup by the creative team that's going
which is
Jeff Loeb and Simone Mayo.
Yeah. So I guess, by the way, Sabretooth is one of the big characters and is a good guy.
This is where they first introduced Good Guy Sabretooth, I think.
It was Sabretooth and Wildchild.
Yes.
Yeah, that's why.
Wasn't Blink his surrogate daughter or something?
She had a Jubilee.
She's in here too.
Yeah, she had a Jubilee Logan relationship with Sabretooth.
Was Blink the one original character or main?
Yes,
notably original.
Blink, she wasn't the only one, but she was one of the big original characters.
Blink was not an original character in Age of Volume. She showed up in Power Pack originally.
Power Pack?
Yeah, she showed up in a single issue of Power Pack. I think
Nick,
she
you
got
need to
killed.
write the history.
Wow, I thought she.
That makes sense because the
Yeah.
Louise Simonson edited X-Men.
Yeah.
But then she showed up as a major character in Age of Apocalypse.
Huh, now I
And
want to
then
look
she was a
into
major
this.
character in Exiles, which unfortunately is all out of print.
God, but Exiles was so good.
Exiles was really good. They should put it back in print.
And they should also do a new version of it.
Yes, they
But
should.
they are doing a new version,
But it's not.
not Exiles. It's just called Exiles.
Yeah, it's going to be Xavier and
I'm gonna have to
Lilandra.
smack somebody.
Yep. All right, we got Absolute books this week. Absolute Wonder Woman number 9, Absolute Marshman number 4, both really good.
Yep.
DC Time Sunk the Hedgehog number 4 of 5, the penultimate issue, I think.
Yep.
Really fun. Last issue was all the Sonic characters in the DC universe.
Yeah.
This time it's all the DC heroes in the Sonic universe trying to gather up the Chaos Emeralds.
Am I correct? Did I flipping through? Did I see like some like Barda and some new guy, or like the female Furies were in it?
Yes, because they're in the
Because there's
Sonic
Apocalypse
world.
stuff.
They're in the Sonic world. Yeah. Yeah.
Lashina versus Knuckles.
I mean,
Not
it's
yet.
really a
because they
thing
was
that could happen.
But they
though.
did have Lashina versus Wonder Woman.
Oh.
I want them to take Sonic and try and have Granny put him through her school of
Yes.
repression.
Mr. Terrific Year 1 is a review, another look at the Spectre issue that introduced him.
Oh, interesting.
So, like, he is considering suicide because a friend of his has died, and this is where the Spectre basically talks to him, tells him about his friend Terry Sloan, who was the original Mr. Terrific, and sort of inspires him to become Mr. Terrific.
So this actually
This happened this is where he was introduced.
Oh, interesting. I don't know if I knew that.
John Oster and Tom Mandrake created him in the Spectre.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we talked about this before. John Ostrander is quietly one of the most additive creators that DC has had.
He's built a lot.
He created the entire modern concept of the Suicide Squad. He created Amanda Waller. He created Oracle.
Yep.
And Mr. Terrific. He did rethinks of a lot of heroes. And sometimes he would bring out the best in them too, which is like, Captain Boomerang was never better written than by him. He wrote the iconic Captain Boomerang. So, yeah, man, Ostrander, what a guy.
Yep. We've got Justice League number 8, which is the finale of the We Are Yesterday crossover, which is Grodd went back in time and gathered up a super villain squad. So the Justice League
version.
Yeah, the Justice League as a result and he's got like he's got Darkseid's power now, so he's the Gorilla God.
Oh, sure.
And
That's fine.
facing off with a bunch of characters, including I see Absolute Batman kicking the Joker in the butt.
Oh,
Whoa,
nice.
that's crazy.
But they've also got like the Terrifics from a different timeline, the original Robin, Aquaman from the 90s,
that is
Batman
like-
Beyond. It's like basically they called it the Justice League multiverse.
This is like as huge in its way as was it the Justice League Avengers crossover
Yeah,
from
it's
years
fun.
ago.
Jonah Hex is in there, and they got to explain to him what's going on because he's from the Old West.
Love it.
New issue of Superman. They have dealt with the Superwoman thing. They're dealing with Luthor. A lot of the spin-offs of the one-shots we've all been enjoying.
That's who's the guy who writes that?
Joshua Williams.
Joshua Williamson. Yeah.
It's very unusual, but I'm enjoying what he's doing with Superman.
Yeah, I was saying, there's elements that are a little too eccentric for me,
Yeah.
but it's also, some of them I like, though,
Yeah.
and I think that people who are looking for a Superman that's just a little more off the beaten path and a little less predictable than the others, I actually think it could be a really good book for him.
Agreed.
And the art's great.
Yeah. 2 One World Under Doom tie-ins this week. One is Fantastic Four number 33, which has the FF. They have to repower Ben Grimm because without Doom magic just powers away.
And their powers are kind of like linked.
Their powers are all linked, and so they're all. He's basically he's gotten rid of the entire Fantastic Four. So they have this crazy time travel plan that Val comes up with. But it is narrated by Herbie, the robot, and is a Herbie story. So it is a conclusion of Ronnie North's run. He's going to start with new number 1 next month. But it is also a Herbie standalone story, and I recommend it for people.
That's cool, right on the cusp of the movie.
As with all the Fantastic Four, I really like what Ryan North is doing, and I think this arc has been really good.
He's kind of clearly thought through his brand of sci-fi for them, more than most writers have, to be honest.
I will say this is one of the best covers I've seen in a little while.
It's really good.
It's really good.
It's them in their astronaut outfits. It's painted. It kind of evokes the movie, but it's not exactly like the movie.
Superior Avengers, the other Doom tie-in, is more of the sort of villains who have become the Avengers, who are the twist that was revealed at the end of number 1 is they're from timelines where Doom was in charge, and they all hate him. And so they're secretly trying to bring him down. It's been fun. This is kind of their Thunderbolts.
Yeah.
Which is funny because there is also a Thunderbolts book. But like the original Thunderbolts, is all the supervillains and stuff working together. A lot of scheming and manipulation. Really fun. I'm enjoying that book a lot. New issue of Ultimate Spider-Man, which continues to develop that world.
Yeah, there's some big things in this one. Some fun stuff. I just like Hickman's wordplay. I like the characters interacting, and that's a big part of it.
Number 4 of We're Taking Everyone Down With Us, the super villain, super conspiracy.
That's an Image comic, right?
Image comic, yep. Third issue also gets a reprint this week.
Yep.
And then the 4th issue and final issue of The Mummy by Faith Erin Hicks, which I've been really enjoying.
Been good.
And then in reprint news, we've got Godzilla vs. X-Men number 1, as well as new number 1s for the 3 main Absolute books.
That have like connecting covers.
Yeah, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, and there's a connecting cover series by Mark Spears.
Yep.
Are there more Godzilla reprints of the Godzilla Marvel stuff?
I believe this is it.
Okay, I was kind of, I know that it's been going for a little while now.
Mm-hmm.
Just curious.
Yeah.
People occasionally do ask.
They're about to launch the miniseries of Godzilla vs. Marvel Universe.
Yep.
So.
And I guess we should say, because people they were kind of missed the boat a little bit on the Marvel one, or sometimes it would sell out and be missing when they wanted it. If you are looking for the Godzilla Destroys the Marvel Universe, this would be a really good time to let us know, to put it down on your subscription or a special order if you don't have a subscription. Help us to help you.
There are a few trades this week. As with last week, they're going to be on the table because it's a big week of comics.
It's crazy how big it's been lately.
Clementine Book 3, which is the finale of Tilly Walden's YA series set in the world of Walking Dead. These are really good. Superman Birthright Compact Edition. This is Mark Waid and Leinil Francis Hughes. Origin of Marvel, or Origin of Superman. That's not quite all in continuity, I don't think, anymore. But this seems like doing student of the world travel kind of thing.
I've never read this one.
You should for sure read it. Yeah. It didn't fully register for me because I'm like, it's just not quite what I want from Superman. But, I always kind of like a good Superman origin that's well thought through. Yeah. And few people think things through as much as Mark Waid does. So
I like Leinil Francis Hughes as well.
Yeah, I would recommend it. I mean, $10 too for these.
Superman The World. This is the third in the World series. They've done Batman and Joker previously. Mm-hmm. It's a hardcover with 15 different countries telling stories of Superman through their international and cultural perspectives.
Oh, yeah.
It's a cool idea.
Yeah, and these were always pretty good. And they've got a bunch of... I see Dan Jurgens is listed as maybe the writer, but I guess there's a lot of artists from different parts of the world. And then Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Volume 1. The first 5 issues of Jason Aaron's run.
That's big. I need to make a sign for that.
Yeah, it's good.
We've talked about that from the first issue, and just about every issue we talked about how much more kind of like what kind of good world building he's doing. The weird stories with Dead Splinter and the dead rat that Donatello is obsessed with.
I'm really enjoying it.
But has actually become an intriguing plot point. It's not just some weird morbid thing.
Yeah.
It's that too.
Yeah.
But it's also
Fair.
It's also a key plot point, and there's some interesting stuff coming out of it. And there's like badass scenes in it, and there's who's it? Raphael in prison, all kinds of good stuff.
Yep. What else did I miss? What single issues did I miss?
The only other thing I've got is a new issue of Void Rivals, which continues to be very, very good.
There was one other thing I wanted to mention. I don't know if we mentioned there's a new Predator Spider-Man this week.
Predator Spider-Man.
And I'm kind of curious about this. In the second issue of The Thing, his solo series, he fights Bullseye.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking about it. There's a cool cover where one of Bullseye's blades is embedded in the Thing's head.
Yep.
I was like, obviously the Thing, if he gets his hands on him, it's all over. But Bullseye could be flinging stuff constantly at his eyes, making him kind of blink and close his eyes. And I'm like, okay, this could be interesting, and I want to see what they do with it.
Yeah, it's Tim Seeley writing. So
okay,
or no, Tony Fleeks.
Tony Fleeks.
Yeah,
yeah, he's good too. He did the Feral, but also
Stray.
That was the one I was going to think of. I wanted to mention, I've been kind of casually reading both Green Lantern titles.
Yeah,
and there's another interesting one here. There's a Star Sapphire, which is Carol Ferris, and Hal have some interesting conversation and team ups. They're actually investigating a prison here, and there's a big sort of reveal at the end of a character who was from the Green Lantern animated series. I feel like very underrated Bruce Timm Green Lantern animated series that only went 2 seasons, I think, but had some really good stuff. And this character was a really good character on the show with a cool design and everything. So I am hoping I think that's a cool addition to the DC lore.
Yeah.
And then I only wanted to mention, largely because I haven't read it even, this cover looks so cool on this Green Lantern Dark. I don't know if you're still reading this, Nick, but, Green Lantern Dark is like almost a rebuild from the ground up of Green Lantern just based on the name alone. And it's like, in this world shrouded in darkness, Green Lantern is this person who has like an old crook of a stick with a literal Green Lantern on it.
Yeah, that's sort of a supernatural character.
One of the few things that can pierce the mystical darkness. Anyway, there's this very, very cool art, and I feel like I want to... This cover is so evocative. I want to read it when it hits trade. So, sometimes comics, the way we read them is weird like that. Like,
True.
Something will catch your eye, and I'll be like, I'll come back to that in a collection. And, sometimes it's really worth it.
All right, we're going to take a break, and then we're going to come back and talk about some news in the realm of comics. All right, so we don't have trailers to talk about this week, but we do have a little bit of some news, all comic book related. I guess there's one that is not. So everything is not actually comics; it's movie related, but it is comic movie related. That John Bernthal, who plays the Punisher, is going to be in Spider-Man: Brand New Day, which is the first time that Punisher will be in the Spider-Man continuity, the MCU continuity.
The MCU thing, yeah, like formally in there.
What's weird is I'm having trouble imagining him interacting with Tom Holland's Spider-Man.
I could see that.
Yeah.
Tom Holland has honestly grown up a little bit, and,
Yes.
the Peter Parker I associate with interacting with Punisher is usually the one that feels like he's in his early 20s.
Yeah.
And that sounds about right for where they're getting to. I actually don't know what the plot of the next Spider-Man is.
Nobody does.
Okay.
They haven't told us.
It's just called Brand New Day.
But Punisher did first appear in Spider-Man, so
True.
it's a fitting character to drop in there. I think he's just going to go in and just gun down the Green Goblin or whatever and be like, I don't see what the big deal was.
I like the idea of Spider-Man and Punisher together. I think that'd be fun.
Yeah.
I really want Daredevil in that. I mean, we had Daredevil briefly in the third one.
Yeah.
But I want Spider-Man and Daredevil to team up.
Their brief scene in Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man was great.
Yep. Yeah, it was.
I like that too.
The team I'm looking for.
Maybe they'll sneak him in.
Maybe so. I mean, he and Punisher definitely have a big relationship in the New Born Again and have previously. So maybe that's good. The announcement that's coming. But
in general, that seems like a good idea. What do you think, Nick?
I'm fine with it.
Fine with it?
Yeah.
You used to be a Punisher fan, Nick.
I did, and I know that Bernthal and Holland are actual friends, like in real life.
Oh, okay.
Like I think he helped him get the job, or like helped him with acting, or something along those lines. So I mean,
here's how to act, John. You have to pretend like you're the character. Don't actually go out and kill criminals.
but I like John Bernthal.
About
method.
that.
I like John Bernthal a lot, so it'll be fun to
acting,
see.
dear boy.
I'm curious as to. Yeah, I do wonder, like, and I haven't seen a lot of this stuff with John Bernthal on like either the Netflix version or Disney Plus. But I'm like, yes, how do you have a guy who's pretty stone cold killer interacting with Spider-Man? I mean, I guess Spider-Man has already done his go
Insta-kill.
into web insta-kill mode or whatever.
That's true.
Yeah. So,
He has killed a lot of the.
But those are aliens. You can kill as many aliens as you
still
want.
I'm sure he's going to be like, Punisher, you haven't killed half as many people as my suit did in Endgame alone.
You punk.
Spider-Man, it's going to end with Punisher he's like, I need one of those insta-kill suits.
Oh, no.
He's going to have the Iron Spider costume now. But he's just going to look awkward in it.
Yeah,
It's going to be
because
like,
it's built for a little kid. It doesn't fit him.
he's going to have to infiltrate the mob wearing it and stuff.
Frank will just get the Iron Man suit or
It
the
looks
War
like
Machine
one
suit.
of those midriff bearing like belly shirts on him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I hope this is exactly how it plays
me
out.
too.
The MCU needs a big win, and I think that Midriff Spider Armor
Punisher.
Spider Punisher is the way to go.
I think you're right. Midriff Spider-Punisher is the way to go. So Tom Taylor announced a new book from
At DC.
Yep.
It's coming in September. It is a modern, all-ages twist on the Legend of Camelot called Court, Children of the Round Table. It's a 6-issue series done by him and his artist Danielle Di Nicolo, who did Seven Secrets with him over at Boom.
Yep.
I love Tom Taylor's writing. I'm not sure I want this book. I don't understand the appeal of the Knights of the Round Table and Camelot. Someone explain to me.
I mean, I basically what do you call it? Bonded hard with Excalibur when I saw it in second grade.
Yep.
It's a sort of tragic fantasy story, of honor and loyalty being put to the test and triumphing in some ways but failing in others. It's got a bunch of memorable personalities. There's a reason Lancelot and Gawain and all these people are icons. Merlin, Morgan Le Fay, and then Helen Mirren's boobs were in it.
Sure.
So yeah.
I'm just gonna boil it down to knights, swords.
They look cool.
Magic.
They looked amazing too. Yeah,
it was fun.
And it was that particular version was grittier than I expected as a kid. I was not braced for that, but
I don't think your parents were either.
They were little. They were like, maybe we shouldn't have taken our kid to see this thing where people get their arms chopped off and it begins with a sexual assault scene and all of this stuff. Yeah, but yet my love persists. Something about it clicked.
And you don't care for fantasies. So.
I don't care for fantasy as much. I definitely don't have any fondness for the Knights dinner table. Round table.
But
or that either.
Is this a completely out of continuity, or is this part of the...
I believe it's the DC universe. So
in other words, there'd be like a new teen team along the lines of whether it's Young Justice or the original Teen Titans, or...
Definitely younger. They look like kids. Like it is definitely like...
More Power Packy?
Or Newsboy Legion-ish, maybe.
Right.
Okay.
But it looks like in little preview pages, it looks like there's a group of 7 kids, and they find the sword falls into the earth, and they find the sword in the stone. And
I mean, honestly, it sounds more like a YA novel series.
It does.
Everybody knows about what's the Percy Jackson stuff.
Yeah.
It sounds like Percy Jackson territory. And maybe his notion was to kind of do something like that with the hope of hey, what can we do to kind of get kids drawn into the DC universe?
Yeah.
I applaud Taylor for wanting to come up with new characters for the DC universe, but it's tough.
Yeah.
Especially for them to stick.
Yep.
It is. And I guess none of us exactly know what his game plan is here. And we like Tom Taylor quite a bit.
Yep.
But I think I'm like you, Randy. I'm sort of skeptical of the idea. I need to. It'll have to prove itself.
Yes. The other bit of news, though, is pretty notable, and I'm pretty excited about this. The Deadpool Batman and Batman Deadpool that were announced.
Right.
It turns out that they are not the only characters that will be in this. They're going to be backup stories. There will be a Daredevil Green Arrow by Kevin Smith and Adam Kubert, a Captain America and Wonder Woman by Chip Zdarsky and Terry Dodson, and Jeff the Landshark and Crypto by Kelly Thompson and Guri Huru.
Sorry, what was the second one?
Daredevil, Captain America and Wonder Woman by Chip Zdarsky and Terry Dodson.
Captain America and Wonder Woman. Interesting. Both. Yeah. He's like a full patriotic hero. She sometimes has elements of that, but it's not a big thing for her.
But they also were both born in wars. Her in World War I, him in World War II.
Yep, or at least, that's what it is from the movies.
And I think that's kind of the continuity that they're going to go with, I'd bet.
It would make some sense.
Or maybe they'll make her also in World War II, and it'll be set in World War II.
Yeah. Right.
At any rate,
and then the third one was
Jeff and Crypto.
Yes, which I've seen. There's variant covers for all of these that are gonna spotlight the backup stories. Yeah. And you can look around online and find them all. The Jeff and Crypto one is great.
It's very cute. It's Guri Huru who did a lot of Power Pack stuff.
They're fantastic.
And, they're really good together. So
didn't they do some of the Last Airbender comics as well?
They did.
Yeah, man, they're good. Yeah. It's like a team
and some Jeff stuff, of course.
Yeah. And the Jeff stuff has been great. So yeah, I think, man, this is going to be a big thing.
Yep, looking forward to it.
It is also one of those that you should go ahead and tell us now if you'd like a Batman Deadpool / Deadpool Batman. Basically, just a reminder, each Marvel puts out one, DC puts out one.
Yep.
And then you should buy both and be like, which one is best? And then that person is the winner comic company, and you can only ever buy from them.
So, by the way, this is Marvel's one, the DC Deadpool Batman. So, one's got the lead story with Zeb Wells. Yep. And Greg Capullo, which tells me, I wonder if DC is also doing this, and they just haven't announced it yet, if the DC one will also have backup stories.
That would make sense.
So we just don't know yet. They want to keep the hype train going. So they
an announcement every week or two. Yeah.
So, but yeah, this is pretty exciting.
That's fun stuff.
All right, let's set up a spoiler warning here. And say that if you are going to see 28 Years Later, the not zombie but zombie movie by
they're infected,
Danny Boyle,
but they're basically zombies.
You should probably stop listening now because Dave and I might spoil some stuff.
Right. I think we'll try to avoid the biggest spoilers, but we're going to get into some stuff.
Right. There are zombies in it, but they're
zombies.
Not zombies.
Sorry to surprise you. So I will say that so I saw the original 28 Days Later in the theater, and it was one of my. It's become stayed and became one of my favorite horror movies. Like I'd put it in my top 10.
I have seen 28 Days Later once. I enjoyed it. I don't remember a lot of it.
It's featured pre-Oscar-winning Cillian Murphy, who now won an Oscar for Oppenheimer, but back then he was the point of view character in Survivor, and after a zombie-type plague of people infected with a rage virus sweeps through London, and I believe maybe just a little bit before Walking Dead did it in the comic. It depicted a person who was in a coma who wakes up and it's essentially already happened.
There were some accusations of Kit Kirkman over that, I believe, that he had stolen that from 28 Days Later.
I believe both of them could say that there was a novel called Day of the Triffids, where from like the 60s or 50s, where there's like a meteorite that blinds a bunch of people on Earth and also creates these monstrous plant life forms.
Yeah.
And a guy wakes up from a coma and it's already in effect. So that one was, I think, the OG.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was what separated this from a lot of other horror movies was Danny Boyle's story and Alex Garland, who's gone on to become a well-known writer and director.
Oh, did he write the original as well?
Yeah,
yes, he did.
And
okay.
what is he best known for now?
Arrival? Did he write? No, that's the way.
I do mix it up. He recently did.
He did Annihilation.
He did Annihilation.
He did Civil War.
He also did Ex Machina.
Yes.
You can look him up. He's done a bunch of stuff.
Didn't he do that new Warfare movie, I believe, as well?
No, not the Civil War one.
He did Civil War.
He did do Civil War.
But there was another one, I think, called Warfare.
Is he the writer-director on those? Is he a writer-director type?
Usually.
I think he has become that.
Okay.
But yeah, the thing that made the original one different was that it was a more thoughtful piece. There was characters you cared about. Yep. I mean, this is somewhat in the zombie movie tradition, going back to Romero's stuff. But it has a somewhat upbeat ending, but it is dark and has some harrowing scenes, some heartbreaking scenes, but like it's just more thoughtful. It's got a little bit of art house, I think, in it, and that's what I liked about it. So then there was 28 Weeks Later, which we saw, and I want to say was one of the few movies we've ever seen at the Alamo that we kind of talked a little bit during.
Well, we all hated it.
Yeah, it was. Now we should say this is basically an empty theater.
Yep.
And we were just kind of still whispering, but we did not like it. It has some dumb storylines. Danny Boyle only directed the opening.
The opening's great.
The opening is fantastic.
Yeah.
And it has a good actor in it with Robert Carlyle, but the movie is just kind of trash.
Yep.
And so I'd been like, well, too bad, but I'll always have the first one.
Yep.
Now along comes the director back, and we've got a third one, which I think we both quite liked. A little weird at times, a little weirder than I expected, but that was kind of part of the appeal. So Randy, you want to tell us where the point of view character is a young boy?
A young boy. So basically the text setup, which I thought was good, basically said there was a rage virus. And basically, they pushed it back from the European continent, and everything is contained on the island of the United Kingdom.
Yep.
And so that's where, and the survivors will have to fend for themselves.
Right.
And so they have the boats patrolling to make sure nobody gets off the island. And
other countries basically quarantine the UK.
Off the coast of the main island, there's this little tiny island.
Right.
That is basically...
It's like a village settlement that they've managed to prosper in their way. They have I don't know if they have power, but they seem to have... I get a
sense they use bows and arrows. They have a little bit of...
But he was, they must have gas because he was cooking.
He was cooking, yeah.
He was cooking breakfast in the morning, and it seems like they have a sort of a decent... passable life that's a little bit regressed to sort of a medieval quality,
like an English village.
And they even called on the imagery of that time, sometimes showing clips of old maybe old movies that showed English longbowmen. Because these guys kind of fight like that. They are trained to shoot arrows in waves to take down the infected if they need to.
But anyway, they this focuses on a young boy who's about 12 years old, and his father. And his mother is in bed, clearly sick. She's got some kind of problems with her head.
Right. There's delusions of some sort, and sometimes moments of lucidity. She's sympathetic but also difficult.
Yep. And so the dad takes the son on a rite of passage for this village. They go across this causeway that you can only walk across at low tide.
Right.
During high tide, it's covered by water, which makes them safe from the infected.
Right.
But they go out into the main island to get him his first kill of one of the infected with his bow and arrow.
Yeah. You know what this reminded me in a way is you know how when Michael Mann films violence, it's treated pretty seriously, not like it's either it is kind of cool, but it's not flashy, cheesy cool.
Yeah.
The violence in this is treated like that, and the situations are this kid is clearly trained.
Yep.
And he does he panics a little bit during the first encounter with some of them, but he also kind of keeps his cool at other times, and it sort of feels real.
Yeah.
And we also, incidentally, we do meet a few different types of the infected out there.
Yeah.
They're these sort of bloated ones that you see sometimes, which are just kind of like slow crawling, like kind of fat people.
And they eat worms.
They eat worms, they do. And then there's the ones, the ones that run around, and it seems like, I don't know if they're like enough of them died off earlier, but like these ones are very feral and like usually naked.
Yeah.
Usually running around naked or barely clothed.
Yep.
And then there's this big brute looking dude that you occasionally see that they mention where he said it's almost like they're like the infected on steroids. There's, like something about their biological process that when these become infected, they become these like giants.
Yeah, and they like you need multiple arrows to bring them down.
Right.
They're very tough.
As good as like this dad and his kid are both great shots. Mm-hmm. In many ways, it's interesting because he's a well-rounded character. The dad he's got some anger issues, but he's dealing with the fact that his wife is fading away from him, and he's got like there's another village girl he has his eye on.
But he's very much a good character.
But he's otherwise a good person who's kind of just going through a struggle and wants to make sure his kid is protected. So he's a little bit tough love at times, but he's also a little love at times. He's a really good guy. But their difficulties are engagingly portrayed, I would say. And there is some scenes, I think. Any number of scenes in this, Randy, where I kind of felt like after a tense scene would end, I felt like I had to breathe.
Yeah,
like
the tension in this is really good. Whether it's like them hunting in the mainland, discovering there's more zombies than they can handle, or like when they take refuge somewhere and that goes south, and there's that really tense thing on the train.
There's a very tense sequence on a derelict train.
Yep.
And if you remember in the first movie, the scene where they had to change the tire in the tunnel when their tire blows out, and they have to change a tire in there, and they can see like a horde of the infected are racing around the tunnel, and you see their shadows all looming large on the wall, and they're almost there, and it's like trying to change a tire under duress. It's like that, but there's like probably like 3 or 4 scenes like that in this movie that are very tense. Where the story kind of really, dives it full on in is when the kid decides that he kind of cares enough about his mother to try and like find out what's going on with her. And he's heard stories that there is a doctor on the mainland, and people do see this lit fire kind of regularly on the mainland. And it's rumored that there's a doctor there, but he's kind of a broken and crazy person, and you shouldn't go around him. In fact, his dad had an encounter with him years back, and he's like, "Do not go there."
His dad's it's like his grandpa. Or whatever.
Yeah, that's right. And so, but the kid being impulsive and having enough of a skill set to know that he can use the bow pretty well, takes the mountain.
It's kind of a risky, crazy move, but
it is.
Unlike 28 Weeks Later, where we're like, "What are these stupid kids doing? I hope they die." I was like, "No, I understand why this kid is taking this risk."
Right.
And I thought the doctor, the guy who plays the doctor, does a really good job.
Right.
There's some really.
It is a well-known actor.
It is kind of like 3 different movies. There's the opening is like explaining the village and their culture and that kind of thing. The second is like the doctor and the kid, and the third is the movie that starts at the very end of the movie.
Right.
Which is bonkers.
There is a rather wild ending to this movie.
Because Dave, you didn't know this, but I had heard right before we went that they were making a part 2.
So, I had not heard that. Yeah. I've heard this movie has a little bit of controversy. That like some people maybe are really not liking it, but some people really are. I don't know what the controversy exactly is.
Yeah.
I will say this: I found like it gave me what I wanted, which was an emotionally kind of gratifying story. That was really there was not like kind of a villain character in it. There was like everybody is kind of trying to do their best they can under the circumstances. Even there's a young soldier that he runs into at one point who's a Swedish soldier.
Yep.
And this guy is
their boat crashed because they were guarding the island and they wound up on the island.
Yep. And this guy is a little trigger happy and like a little kind of like dumb punk kind of thing. Like, but he's okay.
Yeah.
He's not a monster. He's like you may remember the scary military guys in the first movie.
Yep.
There is nobody who's quite like what Christopher Eccleston's character was there, which is a really terrible person. And I suppose even Eccleston was portrayed with a level of sympathy in that movie.
So this is interesting. 28 years later, The Bone Temple.
Yes.
Is the sequel. It will be released on January 16th.
Okay.
It features a lot of the characters from this movie.
I was going to say, even that title, we know sort of what is meant by that.
Yep. And then the sequel to that, so it's going to be a trilogy.
Wild.
Yeah. But after having seen this, I'm like, yeah, I'm in.
It reminded me a little bit of, the difference between, like, say, The Road Warrior back in, like, 1981 and Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, which did have, like, the kids and there was, like, a little isolated area that they lived in out in, like, the desert that was, like, a little oasis.
Yep.
There was almost an element of that to this kind of, like, bigger mythology that wasn't just, let's run from the zombies and board up the house.
Yep.
It was definitely, there was more thoughtfulness going on here about, like, the different sort of cultures and things that might arise and what would be going on.
Yeah, the world building is so good.
And it didn't feel just like another Walking Dead story either.
Agreed. I really like this.
I'm still wrapping my head around that ending.
Yeah.
Nick, that movie, The Visit?
Yeah.
You know how the closing credits is the kid rapping about what happened to them?
Yeah.
And you're like, what am I watching? It's a little bit like that for about 5 minutes in this movie.
Yeah. The Bone Temple, by the way, is directed by Nia DaCosta, who did the new Candyman reboot.
Okay.
As well as The Marvels. So that she'll be the director on that.
Marvels was a ton of fun.
Yeah. So I'm excited to hear more of this. I was, like I say, kind of a casual fan of this genre or this franchise.
It's not usual that a movie has like kind of a weak sequel and then comes back with a third, but that's where we are.
But I'm looking forward to it. I wanted to mention our rep at Penguin Random House, where we get a lot of our comics.
Yep, they do like all the Marvel, for instance.
I have a monthly call with him, and he mentioned that he has a podcast. Started listening to it. It's called Comics for You.
Yep,
it's 10 episodes in. And it is a podcast sort of about the marketing and publishing and distribution of comics. So he is a guy. He works
a little more inside baseball.
He worked as a retailer, and then he worked at Valiant Comics as like an editorial. And then he worked at Penguin Random House. He has also written a graphic novel called Crashing from IDW. That is sort of a superheroes meets ER kind of thing.
Okay, yeah.
So he talks to one of the artists he's worked with. I've listened to about half of it. He talks to Alex Segura, who was a marketing guy who became a writer, who is currently doing the new Star Wars book. He's written a bunch of stuff. And he talks to his editor, Heather Antos, who is the person responsible for the Star Wars relaunch at Marvel, the Star Trek relaunch at IDW, the TMNT relaunch at IDW. So she's a really big, notable editor.
Yeah, it seems like she knows what's up when it comes to dealing with franchises.
Talked to a couple of people who are big in the comics crowdfunding space. And talked to the sort of marketing manager for Tiny Onion, the publishing imprint that is James Tinian's publisher. That goes to various different publishers. It's like, they're at Dark Horse and Oni and Image and all that as well.
So he's talking to some pretty interesting people.
Yeah, and they're good interviews.
It sounds like he's got a love of the industry.
He definitely does. Yeah,
that's not just this is my job.
Yeah, I think anyone would enjoy this if you're at all interested in how the comics industry works beyond just like, if you don't want, it's not a podcast about comics as characters. I kind of think it's about the business of comics,
right?
But it was really interesting, and I know a fair amount about that. There was stuff I learned in all of this, and it's really entertaining. The interviews. It's a quick, like hour-long podcast, usually maybe.
Not bloated like our podcast.
Not bloated like ours. But worth a listen. It's called Comics for You. You can find it on Spotify and iTunes, just like you can find us on Spotify and iTunes.
Oh, nice segue.
All right.
But before you wrap it, Randy, you know what? We should make it just a quick pitch for the new restaurant in our complex.
Oh, we're doing restaurant reviews now.
Yeah, I think so.
Right.
But what's the name of it?
Demasi's Mediterranean Buffet.
Yeah, and this is like a chain, right? They've got places.
I believe they started in Houston.
Okay. You had been previously, Randy, and had a good outing. You knew about them from their reputation.
There's one in North Austin that I've been to quite a few times.
And this is where what had been the Outback Steakhouse in our shopping center was. But we had lunch there today. We tried it out. It was really good.
It's very tasty.
Whether you were looking for, hummus, falafel, meat, very savory, delicious meatballs,
vegetables and
salads. They've got a few things I think that'd be like if you're taking the kids and they're not really into trying Mediterranean food.
There's some fried chicken.
There's some fried chicken and fish and some
French
things
fries.
like that they could get from there. Great desserts like baklava and I forget a few other ones that were like uniformly good.
Yep.
But just about everything we tried there was great. I think the seasoned cauliflower was one of the best things they had.
That was really good.
I loved the, was it Zatar? Spiced
Zatar pie.
Pie, yeah. The meatballs were great. So yeah, just a general recommendation for trying out Demasi's here in our, try out a place that's in our shopping center. Help us prosper, help them prosper. Mm-hmm. But I think they're doing fine. But
yeah,
but check it out.
All right, that will wrap it up for us this week. We'll be back next week with more. Until that time, yo Joe.
Roguecast is a weekly podcast broadcast from Rogues Gallery Comics and Games in Round Rock, Texas. You can find us online on Facebook and at www.roguesgallerytx.com and email us comments or questions at roguesgallerytx@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.